What's going on? See, this is what technology does. This is okay. This is like us being real people. Should we put this on Facebook? Live?
Sure.
All right, we're going to go. Thank you, by the way, for answering our question. I think
yes. Maria, thank you.
Thanks, Maria. This is awesome. All right, so we are going to have a webcast today, believe it or not. It's true. Right now it's Jamie. Hi, I'm Jamie Migdal. This is my dear friend, colleague, and savior of life, Cara Armour. Hello. We are here, and we will, you can see my reflection in the background. All right, so we're going to get this all going. Put this in. Hi, Yolanda. Hi, Stephanie. Pat, hi, good to see you. Pat, Maria, Jody, Destiny, Becky O'Neill. Hello, Beck. I am going to figure out a way. So we have this new platform. Let me go ahead and live on Facebook. We have this new platform. So we're just trying to figure this out. Although we did a webcast with this platform already and it went great. So I don't know why this is. We're waiting for our good friend, Joette White, who is the CEO and founder of Park Cities Pet Sitter, who also happened to win the National Association of Professional Pet Sitters Pet Sitter of the Year this year. So we're super delighted to have her on with us when she comes on. She was just here, you all heard her, but this is the way things go. It's technology, you gotta just go with it. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and put this live on Facebook. Ready? Here we go. I'm not gonna screw something up. All right.
It worked before, so.
I don't know, here we go. Here we go, go live. All right, we're live on Facebook. Well, this is exciting. Good morning, Cara.
Good morning, Jamie.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody.
Well, technically afternoon here on the East Coast.
Oh, it's still morning here in Chicago, 11:03 to be exact. All right, so Q&A is open always. I'm going to keep that open for everybody so you guys can go ahead and ask questions, and we'll make this interactive. We don't want to just, this is really for everybody. This is the topic for today's life hacks for pet sitters and pet parents, because I always say, Cara, you and I have talked about this, that we're pet parents first and pet sitters and pet professionals second. So some of the things that we're going to talk about will be crossover, but really I think as I look at our audience today and saw the people who had signed up, it's really mostly I think pet pros. And if for those of you who are just pet parents, then you're going to see some good insider kind of discussion and some industry speak and talk, and hopefully that's kind of interesting or attractive to you as well. So, right? That's cool. I would love that. If I were like, yeah, if I were like a pet
I would love to know what my pet sitter said. Yeah.
Right? I want to know what my pet sitter is thinking and what they're doing. I totally want to know. So that's cool. So if you're not a pet pro and you're here with us, right on for you. You're awesome. While we're waiting for Joette, I think what we'll do is you and I will get started with Cara Armour, right? I think maybe I think I'd like you to introduce yourself, because I will say a couple things about you first. That I met Cara, I've known Cara for some time, but really met her face to face this year, and have been so impressed with Cara from everything from the way that she communicates her ideas to obviously her level of experience, which she'll get into. Someone once said something about Cara, which is really, in fact, Melanie from our team said that. She said, the grass doesn't grow on Cara, or something like that, meaning like she just, there's no grass growing.
No moss on this rolling stone.
No. Meaning that Cara is the kind of person that when she has an idea or feels passionate about something, she makes it happen. And she's done that with her own business, which, by the way, she's also a former Pet Sitter of the Year through Pet Sitters International. So our panel today is like extremely amazing to have two Pet Sitters of the Year with us here talking about life hacks. But back to Cara. So Cara is just someone who I've been really just blown away by, with her enthusiasm, her passion, her depth of knowledge, her approach. She's working here, full disclosure, here at FetchFind. She does our partnerships and some biz development for us, and it's been just an amazing partnership to this point. And when we put this idea together for this particular topic, it was so obvious that she needed to be here with us. Even though she's kind of part of our team, she still runs her own pet sitting business, and she's very active with her own dogs in both agility and showing them and breeding and doing all these really amazing things to add to the quality of pets in this world. So That said, so that's if you know Cara. Oh, here, I'm here. It's from Joette to all panelists. I'm here. Hi, Joette. Okay, with Joette, we know you're here. Here's what's going to happen, I think, Joette, because I know you're there. I'm so glad that you're here. Love Cara and Joette. They are such great role models for all in the pet sitting business, aren't they? Isn't that amazing that Cara and Joette are here? Joette, we know you're here. Joette, if you want to go back and do what you were doing earlier, which was just to be on verbally and don't worry about your camera, that would be totally cool too. Everyone would just love to hear your beautiful voice, although your face is equally gorgeous.
She's a beautiful blonde that rounds us out.
I know. She would be like, we can put her right in the middle of us and she can be our blonde. So Joette, we'll wait for you. We're here. You get here when you can. And as soon as you get here, you can get caught up. If you're thinking about things as we're talking that you want to bring us back to, we'll do that as well. So, Cara, why don't you introduce yourself and then I'll kind of give just talk a little bit about your background and then I'll give the kind of the goals for today.
Sure. Well, pet sitting, oddly enough, and I didn't realize this until after I had started professionally, has been an occupation of mine since I was about 10 years old. I was always the neighborhood entrepreneur. I guess for lack of a better word, the neighborhood hustler. I always aspired. My parents were very generous with, education and clothing and the necessities of life. But if I wanted I was into Breyer horses, or if I wanted something else, I got into micro machines, don't even ask. If I wanted anything extra in life, my parents said you had to work for it. So my stepfather went out and bought me a, lawnmower from Sears. So I would go door to door and I'd offer to mow people's lawn. And then pet sitting came about and I loved animals. We always grew up with a slew of dogs and cats. I mean, there's been a lot over the years. So I, pet sitting was just natural because I had a neighbor. She was a doctor. She traveled a lot for conferences. And so I started pet sitting a dog that was actually older than me and I was pilling him. He was 12. He was a tree walking coonhound mix named Archie. And that was my start of it. And then of course the family animals, a lot of the responsibility fell on me considering I was always bringing them home. So yeah, that was my start to it, but it really kind of took shape when I graduated from college and I was given money to put into an IRA.
I love the story.
I was 21. I wasn't thinking about,
right?
Yeah, for my grandmother. I wasn't thinking about retirement at 21. I was thinking about a puppy. So I bought myself a puppy. And to be honest, I know I'm still relatively young, meaning I'm not at retirement age, and I doubt I'll change my tune to this, but that was the best investment of my life. Oh, Joette's here.
Hi, Joette. You're here. Hold on, unmute her. Hold on. Joette, you're here.
Now you can hear me.
Yay!
Joette! Yay!
Sorry about the video. I don't know what to do about the video.
You know what? Don't worry about it. This is all good. We're just so glad that you're here with us because people love you and they want to hear from you and hear about you. So the fact that you can hear us, we can hear you. That's the most important thing. If I had a picture, maybe
could put a picture of her up.
Hold on. Melissa, I'm going to seriously ask someone in my office to print out a picture of you and we're going to get that going. All right. So Cara got herself a dog. Her grandmother gave her $1,000 and said, go start a retirement fund. And she's like, retirement fund? I want 4 paws in my life. And you got
I got a boxer, which I got a boxer because I would drive to work every single day. I was a retail store manager for a sporting goods company. And I would see this boxer standing on this stone wall, no fence, nothing. And he was gorgeous. And one day I stopped and I went up to him and he did the classic boxer, I'm defending my yard. And then once I stepped into the yard, he said, oh, you're a friend. And he went and grabbed me his jolly ball and played out. And I was rolling around on the ground with him. And that was kind of the end of that. I had grown up with chocolate lab, Chesapeake Bay retrievers. I had a rough coated collie. I had a Maltese. I had a beagle. I had a golden retriever. I mean, we had, you name it, we had it. So a boxer just really fit my lifestyle. I'm a sprinter. I'm energetic. I'm loyal. But I tire easily.
You are those things. You are.
Yeah. I am. You are
your dog breed. I know, it's awesome. So
I gain weight if you feed me extra kibble.
You really are. You're like a boxer. So today, can you just tell everybody quickly what not quickly, but you know what I mean? Just give everyone a quick rundown on what you're doing today currently as a pet pro.
Yeah, so this dog led me to dog parks, which led me to meet my husband, which then led me to meet a dog walker, which just planted this seed in my head that I couldn't believe that people were living with a high cost of living as dog walkers in Boston. I mean, when I grew up, I didn't get paid to walk my dog. That's what I did. So that idea just resonated with me and burned a hole in my heart that was like, I need to do this. And I gave up some pretty good jobs to start this endeavor with my boyfriend at the time, who was from Northern Ireland, who you don't walk dogs. I mean, it was a new concept back in 2003, but in Northern Ireland, you open your door and it was more like 50s and 60s. The dogs just ran.
Right.
So he thought I was crazy. I'm surprised he stayed with me. Thank you. But he said, look, I'll give your crazy idea 6 months. And I really relied on him because I still needed to pay rent. So I still needed to get some other jobs, like work at Starbucks in Brookstone. And so he handled our very first clients. We went and met them together and he provided the walks. And he said, look, I'll give this idea 6 months. And 14 years later, with some accolades, Pet Sitter of the Year under our belt, and some growing aspirations that have not stopped, stalled, or slowed at the least. That's where we are now.
And how many clients do you guys serve a day? In general, like over a week, how many dogs will you touch?
Oh, we'll touch about 90 dogs in a week.
Okay. All right. We'll get back to that later. Oh, here, everybody. This is Joette. I want to put this up. I'm going to hold this phone a while. Here she is.
Can you put it up by the lamp or something?
Wait, Melissa, can you come help me put this up somewhere? We have to have this up.
You're so sweet. Oh my gosh. So funny. I even showered today.
Actually, okay. Wait, I'll do this every time we talk. Hilarious. Oh my gosh. Thanks, Melissa. So, all right. So 90, is that where we were? 90-ish dogs a week you touch, your company touches? And how many ICs and or employees do you have?
I have 5 employees.
Okay. All right. So hold Cara in highest esteem. And now we're going to go ahead and quickly, you know what, maybe let's go ahead and introduce Joette. Who I feel like there should be a big drum roll because we were so excited and we're so happy you're here. So I'm going to give a quick bio on Joette. And I know Joette. I met Joette this year, actually. I've known about Joette for a long time. Personally, I met Joette this year. Really impressed with her. Met her at National Association of Professional Pet Sitters Conference, which was in May-ish or something of this year. I was honored to be a speaker, so I got to have some really nice interaction. Actually had a meal with Joette, which was awesome. And of course at that event, Joette did win Pet Sitter of the Year, which is a really big deal when you're talking about the tens of thousands of pet sitters in this country. To win that designation is a really meaningful thing. And you know, right back to Cara again, she also won that through the sister organization to that, which is Pet Sitter International. So it's a really big deal. So I was impressed with Joette from the first minute I met her. The more I learned about her business, the more impressed I became. And when we put this webinar together, it was so obvious that she also needed to be here with us. And she's also a FetchFind customer, so we've gotten to know her business, and we're doing a lot of great work with her and her team. And so it's really nice to be here with you, Joette. I'm really glad you're here. So you started Park Cities Pet Sitter in 1992, which is, you know, talk about early stage pet care business. I started my first pet care business in 94. So I understand what you were dealing with in 92 as far as lack of technology and tools and understanding from people. And I'm sure everyone thought that you were crazy. So I know that part of what you did was that you oh, hold on. Hold on. Oh my God, hold on. I don't know what's happening. Oh my God, can you guys hear this music?
No, not at all.
All right, you guys go ahead and talk.
All right. Well, I'll talk a little bit about myself. Or do you?
my God, you guys couldn't hear that? You know
No.
what that was? Oh my God.
Was your alarm
And
going
first
off?
of all, no, it was my Spotify that when my phone rang, I'm on this Bluetooth and it hit my Spotify and brought my Spotify up. And it was like dance music, which I'm not sure when I was listening to dance music in the last couple of days, but it was like raise the roof. I'm like, oh my God, if they can hear this, they're going to think I'm crazy, number one. But number two, like they're going to all start dancing. I mean, it was a total dance party. Or I apologize. That was where you are sitting next to me. Okay, so Joette, I totally just got overwhelmed by music just now, and I closed my Spotify. So I don't know what you said, but I'm sure it was fantastic. Will you tell us about how you got into this and where you are?
Well, actually, I did not start this company in '92. I didn't start it at all.
You bought it.
Yes.
You bought it.
Yeah, that's correct. I bought it in '96. The original lady started at '92, and then I bought it I bought it, and I started working for her in '96 as a pet sitter. I wanted to pursue an acting career. I thought that would give me flexibility. I loved animals, so I'm like, hey, you know. Another friend of mine was.
But the woman who started in '92. Yep. The company was formed. Okay, right. Okay.
Yes, yeah. She started in '92 more as a hobby more than anything else, and it just really took off on its own. So when I joined the team, she probably maybe had 10 sitters at that time. They were ICs, and I continued to work for her for about 4 years, and then after. That 4th year, I've been running the company for her while she was traveling and taking time off and all of that stuff. So, and then I bought the company actually in 2000.
And today,
17 years later, you know, we have nearly 50 employees, which we converted back in 2010.
You converted them from independent contractors.
Correct. Yeah. And we do about 60,000 visits a year.
Can everyone wrap their brain around that? I know there's a lot of great pet sitters on this call. I can see some of the names, and so you all can understand, including Cara, what that means, and what the intensity behind that means, and the responsibility that
that's the intensity that made me actually resize my business. I started out, I had 15 employees back in 2014, and kudos to you, Joette. I decided a little smaller was better.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the thing about this industry that's really great. I was just in Alexandria this weekend speaking at pet sittingology. I'm going to say the word pet sitter so many times today that I'm not going to be able to say it ever again. I was at pet sittingology with a bunch of folks, and what we were learning about each other is that really you can be who you want. You can do what you want. We even have, right now there are a lot of people who are doing just cats. So that's, I think, the most interesting thing is that you've got 2 women here on this great webinar, one being Cara, Pet Sitter of the Year, other being Joette, Pet Sitter of the Year, 2 very different businesses, 2 very different approaches, but the thing that binds them, that bounds them, that makes them so fantastic is that quality is really important. And that's the primary concern, is the pet care and the customer care. So now that we've been in this webinar, we're all established. We've got a picture of Joette. I no longer have dance music in my ear. Joette's with us. All right, I just need to do this. Ready? Deep breath. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and talk about what we want to accomplish today, and why we're even here, why we're doing this, and why you're taking your time with us here today on our webinar, like what we hope that you get out of it. And also, again, to remind you, I have the chat open, so you can please at any time ask a question. We will get that answered for you live and make sure that you're getting what you need, because there's no reason for us to do this if it's not to help you. The 3 of us can sit in a bar and talk about pet sitting till we're blue in the face. That doesn't serve anybody. We've been around long enough that we know that we want to be helpful. We're going to focus a lot on the 2 sides of every pet sitting transaction, which means that there's a pet sitter or pet professional on one side, and on the other side, there's the client. And, our focus, of course, in being a pet care professional, and Cara and Joette specifically, is about making sure that they have a trained a trained staff, educated, whether it be around company policies, whether it be about customer service, obviously about pet care, equipment, training, nutrition, all of the different things that are required to be a good pet professional. But where does it extend? How do we find time as pet professionals to take that information and education and bring it to our customers? And that is, I think, the place that in my opinion, there's a gap right now. You've got pet care professionals who are doing an extraordinary job at building great teams, even if they're sole proprietors, educating themselves, of being in organizations and being a part of groups that they can get information online or in person. And then you've got, and they live and breathe for it, right? Like, you guys live and breathe to service your customers and make sure that your staff is really, really well educated. Then you've got your customer, right? You're a dog walker to them. And you're a pet sitter, and it's a transaction. Now, there's a relationship there. Of course, there's a relationship, but it's fairly transactional. So I think what I'd like to focus on today are, what are the ideas that you've tried in your past where you can kind of bridge that gap? How do you make your expertise more relevant for your customers, or even just for the public, to make everyone's life easier? Let's just face it, right? Like, we'll give one example of that. You walk a dog who's pulling on leash, big 90-pound German Shepherd mix who pulls on leash, and they're on a particular collar. They're on a flat buckle collar. You know what I'm talking about, the flat buckle collar, right? You know for a fact, in fact, you've even tried it, you know for a fact that a gentle leader, which is a muzzle, a head collar, would do wonders for the quality of life for the owners, for the dog, for your walkers. What are the different things that you can do in a situation like that, where you can bridge that gap and help everybody? So we're going to talk about situations like that. We can come back to that in just one minute. So, you know, we're going to discuss basically just all types of training issues and management issues that we see in the pet care space, pet sitting in particular, and then think of different ways that we've thought of to solve those problems. So for this, anyone that has questions or problems that you've come across, how do I deal with this and how do I deal with that in that relationship as a pet care provider, please ask them. Okay, did I hit that all pretty well?
Yeah.
Okay. I should also let you know that today's webinar is actually presented and underwritten by our friends at PetSmart Grooming Department, and the grooming department there, the grooming school, they have a great career path for folks who are looking to get into pet care. Grooming is one avenue to that, and PetSmart happens to have a really high quality program that we've been exposed to and we've been really impressed with, and they feel so strongly about connecting with the pet care world that they've offered to be a part of as a sponsor for our webinars every month. So that's really cool too. We're really grateful to have their support and really impressed with what they're doing. So if you're thinking about doing anything as far as pet care, I think that grooming is a really great place to start. Personally, grooming and pet sitting have a lot in common. All right, I've done my thing. I have notes. So let's first of all, let's start with maybe what's like the worst thing that's ever happened, Joette? What's like the biggest challenge that you can remember? I'm sure there are lots of different categories of that, but what's a challenge that you've had, and how did you solve it?
Well, gosh, I've had. Yeah.
I know.
What day went, right?
I know. Last week. How about last week? What was your biggest challenge last week?
Right, and yeah, I apologize. I've been in the background also too, trying to see if I could resolve this video issue, and I have not been able to. So, challenges as far as staff, or just in general.
Let's focus on, since we're thinking about ways to solve, to kind of life hack our way through problems. Let's talk about a problem that maybe is more of something between your business and a customer. So whether between one of your walkers and a customer, or whether from your office and a customer, something that happened in that. And even if you want to come up with something that's like an amalgam of different issues, but an example that you've had to deal with.
Well, I mean, we deal with all kinds of things when it comes to, I think communication is probably a big issue with not only with our staff, but sometimes with our clients. And there can be a lot of miscommunication when you have remote employees. So you're always trying to keep the relationship sticky to you, obviously, the customer sticky to you, but you also want them to have a relationship with the sitter. We had a situation recently where we had a sitter that was uncomfortable with a situation where the dogs were outside when she was coming to the home, and these were boxers, and they were very excitable and jumping up all over you. A very muddy situation as well. Yeah, right.
No surprise there.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, she had been concerned each time. One, she had no access to the house. So the biggest concern was one of the dogs getting out when she's trying to get in, because there was no way to keep them separated from her, where she was, and the street was right on the other side of the gate. And then, of course, getting muddy, really ridiculously muddy each time that she was there because of what the situation was. And then there's nowhere to where you can clean up. And then walking them was difficult as well because they would fight, either on the walk, or they would fight, over food, or they'd fight over the water hose, or whatever it might be. So, we try to communicate this to the client. And of course, the client's perspective is very different because they don't see how their pets behave when they're not home. And we quite often let them know, your pets don't behave the same for you as they do for us. Not always, but in a lot of cases, because, we're like the babysitter. They're going to try to get away with a lot more with us. Plus, we're coming in with all these different smells and, maybe bringing in some stress of our own when we're coming in. I love to say leave it at the door, but we're human. So, trying to find a balance and not offend the client, but also make a safe situation for my staff member, in addition to, making sure that nothing happens to the dogs. So it gets really tricky, because there is that really fine balance of trying to decide, is this a good fit for us all moving forward? I usually always do everything that I can to try to make that situation work. And if I can't make it work, then we need to part ways. And if we need to part ways, then I'm going to try to find them another solution if possible. But it's, it's definitely a challenge when you're dealing with customer service and you're dealing with all different types of personalities and staff as well.
So what is something, so in that situation, which by the way, that's a really good example, and I appreciate you sharing it, we all do, in that situation where, we talk about, how well do pet owners really know their pets, and in terms of like what their needs are, right, from like a really clinical perspective. What are some tips that you have, and Cara, please jump in as well. What are some tips that you have for the provider who maybe is newer to this and hasn't been around for 20 years or doesn't have a great established business and really need to hold on to every single client as they're growing their business, and they don't want to walk away from the boxers because they're a daily customer, they're paying a lot of money, double dogs. It's a big part of their growth, and maybe their neighbors, or maybe they were referred by some current clients. So what are some tips or hacks that you would suggest for that pet sitting company to employ?
Well, I mean, for me, I can tell you that I would, be patient and realize that quite often, from my experience, we've been able to find a solution. So in that particular situation, we talked to the client, expressed our concerns, and one of the issues was it should have been brought to us a lot sooner. So I always tell my staff, tell me from the get-go there's a problem, so that we can try to address it and be proactive rather than reactive.
Oh, that's a great one, actually. That's a good one. Proactivity versus reactivity. I think that we get so busy, pet professionals get so busy in whatever vertical they're in, grooming, training, walking, sitting, daycare, that you just start to kind of put things in the back, and then all of a sudden it's just so in front of you, you just have nothing yet to do but react. So I love the whole idea of being proactive. And I think we can come back to that hack quite a bit during our conversation.
Oh, absolutely. And that's really kind of my staff will all tell you, plan ahead, look ahead, do all you can to prepare. You can't prepare for everything. So, I also tell them, be honest, be honest and upfront, but then again, you have to be very delicate in how you approach some of these things. So, choose your words carefully. I always think a phone call is better than an email or a text, because less likely to misinterpret or take a tone where there isn't one intended. And, I had to learn early on that, not every client was my client. Even though I was trying to build my business, there are some people that I was working too hard to try to please and spending too much time and energy on, and wasn't really worth the amount of money that we were getting in the end, and the stress that it was putting on us and then the staff as well. And it really wasn't fair to that client. We really just weren't the right fit. So, being hungry is one thing, and I've done, taken every little thing, but I also learned very quickly. It's kind of like the whole mindset of, you get what you pay for. Well, it's also, it happens in the reverse, so,
right.
You reduce the amount that you're making ultimately if you're spending a lot of time and energy. And then it's very stressful for you as well. It's just, you find it's just not worth it at the end of the day.
So I'm just, as you're talking, Joette, and I'm going to do the same thing with you, Cara, I'm making a list of these like high level bullet points, and I'm going to read them back, and I'll also type them up and make sure that I put them somewhere. I'll put them on our Facebook page because these are really awesome life hack tips. Some of them are more broad and take implementation over some period of time and discipline to get these ideas woven into your organization. Some things are really just really basic and things you can do in that moment. So Cara, would you like to add to our list of different things you would do in a situation?
Sure. And there's also a great question that came in from Pat.
Thank you.
So yeah, I mean, this is kind of a common theme that I've had. And for the beginning entrepreneur, the beginning pet care person looking to enter, it's not as always easy to set your boundaries without having them being pushed. So when I started off, I had some geographical issues where I would take a client anywhere, you know, within what I thought was reason, which ended up being not reasonable. So to go off of what Joette was saying, though, it's a matter of knowing your limitations and your boundaries and figuring out, at the end of the day, if you're a beginner at this, I always say to myself, because we've chosen this path, it's not a career that we were kind of forced into and that we have to stick with. I always ask myself, do you like that job? And I do this with my staff too. I check in with them regularly and make sure that they actually enjoy the job. So with Joette, it sounded like that staff, I mean, who enjoys being jumped on by muddy boxers? Even I have limits and I love boxers, but it's uncomfortable. And so I try and break things down. My first kind of hack is find out if the clients have the similar issue. Because sometimes you might be suffering and they're suffering with you. For example, with a pulling dog. I always ask in my meet and greets if the dog pulls, and I'm very skeptical of the person that says, oh, no, not at all, they're great. That's the one that gets the red flag. It's the people that say, oh, he's terrible on leash. I always meant to work with him better. And those dogs end up being great. So I always try and find out if the client has the same issue. And then I always try and take a team approach at first. I look at it as I'm helping the client, but I'm really making my job and the job of my pet sitter easier by suggesting the gentle leader or easy walk harness, or if the dogs are muddy, hey, can we keep them in the house? And then we come in and then we will clean them off and put them back or leave them in the yard, whatever you prefer. Or, you know, I have policies. I mean, I know Joette and I are in different areas. I won't leave dogs outside just because the weather here can change in an instant and my boxers would freeze to death today. So there's, you know, it's different for each business, but my biggest broad spectrum hack is set as many boundaries as you can and do your best to stick to them. Now, I'm not talking about policies per se. That's one minutia of a boundary. But for example, I was finding myself burning out because I would come home from walking dogs around 4 or 5 o'clock, and then we'd get a dinner visit for later on, or a late night visit. And I would do them because I was a pleaser. I would always say yes. And I knew that dog wasn't seen until I saw it at noon. So, but that really affected my happiness. And so now that I know how awful that is, I'm very respectful to my staff, and I make sure that I ask if they want that job. And then I actually charge the client more and pay the walker more for that. So little things. It's a matter of seeing from both sides. The client, now I try and take the client's story into account too. Each story is different. So if they're going to a Celtics game and I'm burned out and I don't want to do the visit, I can say no. If they've had a death in the family or their wife got into a car accident, you can consider. I'm not saying as a business owner you should always say yes, no, but I always take circumstances into account because we are empathetic animal lovers at the end of the day. So that being said, to lead into, Pat had a great question. How do you tell a client that we're not the right fit? Well, I think you phrased that really, really well to begin with. It's a matter of you not being the right fit to the client. The client never needs to know that they're not a right fit for you, because that accomplishes nothing. They're immediately going to go on the defensive. They'll, I don't want to fear anybody into a bad review, because I think that's how you should never live, fearing reviews. But if you make the client feel as if they did something wrong, even if it's for lack of payment or what have you, it's best to just part your way and just say, I am so sorry that I cannot, or not even say sorry. It's just my company's services are not the right fit for your needs. And whether this is a difficult client, human, or a difficult dog, I always put it on us without making excuses. Sometimes I've had to go as far as I've changed the model of the business, and unfortunately the service we were providing, we have to give notice because it no longer fits in the model. I greatly apologize, but there's been a shift in the market. Thank you for your years of service. I've done that.
That's a great hack. That's a great hack. Joette, have you ever done that before? Or have you had to do that?
Yeah, well, sort of in a roundabout way, yes. But I like that idea a lot.
I like the idea too, and this is about, I was writing some notes down about this whole idea of balance between being a people pleaser and kind of putting yourself to the side. But I also like the idea of when you can't service somebody for whatever reason, geographic or otherwise, I like the idea of referring them to somebody else.
Yes.
That was brought up this weekend by someone at Pet Simiology, that creates such good synergy, or, it's the right thing to do, number one, but number two, you're also then able to help another pet sitting business who, may be okay with the 4 paws of muddy boxer mess, because that's just they're the down and dirty, they're the down and dirty pets that there's like more mud the better, whatever it is. But I agree, and Dory, why not just commented that she also likes the idea if you can refer.
Referring, and that
powerful.
It stems to networking too. I mean, there's in New England, I'm so jealous of other pet sitting networks that I find out about, and I haven't put a lot of effort in, but in 14 years I've been in this area, I've always wanted to have, and we do actually have a great Facebook group, but I've always wanted to have kind of a New England pet sitters network, but it's been, unfortunately, which is good and bad, it's become a competitive market. So, but you can always break through that. Even if you're solo, there's bound to be a company out there. I mean, people in Massachusetts call me up. I don't offer pet sitting. It's only for my current dog walking clients. So I would love to have, a bank of people that I can refer to for pet sitting. And I have a couple that, based on what the client needs. So yeah, networking that's a strong, that can be considered a hack, because that's a way to comfortably break up with a client. And even if you're going to break up with them, you can contact your colleague and say, hey, look, would you be tolerant of these dogs that are in this backyard? Or
Right.
I've tried working with them. I'll be honest with you. I'd like to refer you because you're also a trainer. Do you want to try working with them? Those kinds of things. I'm always honest with them. So yeah.
Well, I think that's probably the best life hack of it all, which I like, what Joette said a lot, which is that a phone call. And I think this feeds into that. A phone call is always better than an email or a text when it's time to just be honest about whether it's working or not.
Yeah, and Dory's feeling my New England pain. She's up in New Hampshire and I'm in Massachusetts, and we need to drop some of this competitiveness and all be friends. I mean, for example, in one town I service, there's 44,000 dogs. I can't hit 10% of that. We can easily welcome 30 companies. So, and I'd much rather, it looks better for you if you can refer someone. When I worked in retail, if we didn't have the product for somebody, we recommended another store, because eventually that person, when they were the right fit or wanted the right product from us, would come back to us.
So are you saying, Joette, what's it like in your neck of the woods as far as competitiveness? Obviously, Dory is chiming in, and Cara is talking about there being a lot of, more difficult aspect of doing business. What about you?
Yeah, we have those issues as well. When I first got into this early on, I thought, hey, network with my local pet sitting companies.
Will you tell people where you are?
I'm in Dallas, Texas.
But which part of Dallas? The entire area?
I cover all of Dallas. Well, primarily all of Dallas, and a little bit of Plano, which is north of us. It's funny because I try to be friends with people, and my whole philosophy is I don't talk negatively about my competitors. I don't talk negatively about my clients. I don't talk negatively about my staff. It's just bad in general. So there were some groups that started, and they get very cliquish very quickly. There's some people that were not happy with what the claims that we made, that we could service you 24/7 and all of that stuff, because they were one-man shows and they thought that was a ding to them. But ultimately I had to let a lot of that go, because again, I'm a people pleaser as well. I love people. I want to make sure they're happy, and that we're doing everything we can for them. And the same with my fellow pet sitters. I also want to bring the level of the industry up. I want us all to be striving to be better. So there were some that I was just not able to be friends with, because they chose not to be friends. Then there were other, more established companies that as time went on, I've become very close with. And we would get together and we refer, business to each other. We also, send a little warning if we have an issue with a staff member that might be going around, from pet sitting company to pet sitting company. But it is very valuable. I mean, I love my network of people locally, and we share a lot of ideas, and we are able to relate to one another because we know what the struggle is. And then I went even further with that as I went outside of my market, because ultimately the people that I ended up connecting with are all across the country. I have a really good core group that we meet once or twice a year. So I just got back from that this weekend, actually. And that has been invaluable. We have shared very personal details of our businesses, our struggles, and it's rejuvenating to know that you're not alone. And I really encourage the in-person part of it, because you can do Skype, or you can do, emails back and forth, or Facebook, this or that. But there's nothing like getting together, breaking away from your business and getting together with some other people, even if it's for lunch for the day. Because there's just nobody understands the business like somebody else is doing this.
That's right. Jody Smith just said that networking is great. She's part of a local network, and they have a great group of 35 to 40 pet sitters in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area. And then Becky O'Neill, who's out in DC area, said she fully agrees a referral network is invaluable. I've noticed, I'm in Chicago, but I've noticed that, in fact, I was just in DC this weekend. DC, they've got they have a long-term, really well-developed pet sitter network. It's called the Becky, I think it's wrong, the Capital Pet Sitters Association. Oh, that's totally wrong. And it sounds like Jody in St. Paul, Minneapolis has that. So let me ask you guys this question. And Joette, by the way, I know that you were on your weekend this weekend. I'm so glad that you had such a just enriching time. I think it's incredible that you're part of that group. How important is it that to you guys, and this is another kind of hacky way of approaching this, that your customers and your staff, so both, and we'll kind of take them one by one, know that you do these networking activities, whether it be that you're going to a conference, whether it means that you're getting together every other Wednesday, every first Wednesday of the month for drinks and pizza with the local pet care providers in the area, whatever it is. What level of importance do you put on communicating that to your customers?
Yeah, I'm thinking the same thing. So I used to, because PSI is very forward with that, and they, once you go to the conference, they provide you with a template for a press release, and they want you to share it with the world and with your clients. And I used to back in the day. I mean, 2009 when I won, I was telling them, and even before that, I said, "Oh, we're at this educational conference," and I have to say, I've tried. I haven't tried recently, but I don't think there's a lot of interest on my clients' part. And I think part of that is because most of them have been with us for so long that they just assume we know it all, and they're so excited, and that's why they hire us. And I think that's kind of their peace of mind. We went with Cara and her company because they do all that. That's so cool that there's that education out there. I'm so glad you participate in that. I had one client that I remember that was interested in it because I was interested in what she was doing, and she was going to a chocolate conference. Who wouldn't want to go to that?
Who's not interested in that?
I know. Turns out they were chocolatiers, and they were fascinating people. So, no, I haven't reached out recently to admit it, or, to say that I'm going to this conference or I'm involved. To admit it. But when I did, I'd have to say back in the day, people weren't that interested. They were like, "Oh, there's pet sitting conferences." So,
right? People are some people you think would know about these things, and they don't. It's just amazing, right? Joette, what about you?
No, I agree. That's the least thing that my clients care about, and my staff probably. I usually let my staff know because I'm not going to be here. But other than that, yeah, my clients are more interested if we do a local, charity event, or if we're maybe offering some sort of a class or something that they might be interested in, like essential oils for pets or whatever it might be. But yeah, they probably, and now if they were more interested in when I won an award, that was exciting. But the conference itself, yeah, they're not.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No. I mean, that's. I think that makes sense. And I'd be curious from our attendees, our friends, if there's any different opinions on that. So that's really cool because if you think about it, which you are thinking about because we're talking about it, obviously, that all of this activity around networking and around self-improvement, business improvement, reaching out, getting support, how much that has nothing to do one-to-one directly with the customer care component, but how thoughtful and how important it is to not neglect that either, because at the end of the day, this makes sense, right? At the end of the day, it obviously goes right back to the customer. How you're taking care of yourself and how you're networking is going to hugely impact your business. My clients love to know about our conferences from Julie. So it's different, maybe in different regions and different relationships with your customers. I think it's just all about too how you put yourself out there, how much you're sharing, what you're taking back to them. I think there's probably different hacks to go back to the hacking idea around that. All right, so this is cool. So I'm going to go to my list here. Here's a good one. I love this question. Are you ready? This is a good life hack question. What basic training? I'm a dog trainer, so of course I gravitate toward this question. What basic training? How about this? If you were the czar of pet sitting, you got to make decisions about what had to happen in a pet sitting situation, what would be the basic training that you think every single one of dogs that are getting pet sat or dog walked should have? What would be those top couple things?
Well, for me, honestly, socialization. They need to socialize those animals. I mean, that to me is number one. So.
I hope you can see me doing my clap.
All right, because they can do sit, stay, all that. That doesn't make or break whether my sitter can walk them or not. So it's all great and that they have manners, but I want to know if have they been around other dogs, people, cars, bikes, children, whatever it might be, because that's going to set them up and set us up for success a lot better than if we're walking a dog that fears this or has any kind of aggression or anything. So yeah, socialization, number one.
So would you rather then, I think I know the answer, and Cara, I'd love to hear your answer too. Would you rather have a dog? Here we go. Ready? All right. You can have one or the other. You can either have a dog that when you walk in, a Great Dane, 119 pounds, Harlequin, female, 3 years old. There, I've given you a full picture of this dog so you can get it in your head.
Cropped or uncropped?
Uncropped.
Okay.
Super cute. So this girl, we'll call her, what should we call her? Let's call her Lucy. So Lucy is incredibly well socialized, really can do anything, even walks nicely on leash. But when you walk in, you walk out with bruises and scratches. And you know what I'm talking about, those bruises and scratches. Versus same dog who come in, there's no aggression at all, but come in, she's calm, she's pleasant, but go outside and she's fearful. Which would you rather have?
I'll take the bruises. I'll take the bruises. Yes.
Yeah. Yep. Amen.
Yeah, because you know what? I feel confident that I can work through that. First, my systems and process would be check with the owner. Hey, client, when you come home, does your dog beat you up too? I know they're just excited to see you, but do they beat you up? Because this is a big dog to be doing it. And if they say, oh, no, my dog is great. Okay, then I know that's my problem. I had a Chesapeake Bay Retriever that did this to me. And a Wheaton Terrier. They were so excited to see me because I equaled happy time that they would just rake their nails down me. And so this is where I really learned the value of patience in working with dogs, because the more excited I would get and go, sit, wait, they would just be like, what? So I learned I would walk in the door, and if Angie, who is the Chesapeake Bay Retriever, if she was bouncing all over the place, I'd shut the door. And then I'd walk back in, I'd peek in, and I'd tell her, sit, and eventually she learned. I mean, she would be like, oh, eventually she learned. She became one of my favorite dogs because she was one of my greatest failures to success. She was a hot mess. So yeah, and same with Oscar, this Wheaton Terrier. He would every day rake down my back, and I would be like a tree, and I tried all of that. And so it was just a matter of removing myself because I was the reward in X, Y, and Z. So yeah, I would take the happily abusive Great Dane that was pleasant on walk over the fearful, because the fearful for me is still a challenge, and I do enjoy progression, but it's so much harder to work with. And I happen to, we had a Great Dane that, not on our watch, but on the client's watch, actually bit a runner. They were so fearful of people that a runner ran by and they bit them. So I'd much rather.
Extreme, of course, but I get your point exactly.
Yeah.
It's
out
of your control when the dog is that.
Yeah. And I've worked with a lot of Great Danes. And when you said, happy, I'm remembering the one that, whacked her tail so much that it split. And then you have, everywhere, but it's like waist high. It's not like, lab where it's down low. It was on the ceiling. So
it's like Dexter. It was like a Dexter scene.
Yes. Right? It's like somebody got murdered.
So Joette, you agree, obviously, that you'd rather have a dog who was really excitable and possibly even causing some injury versus a dog that's having a kind of shyness or fearfulness.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
So like, this is one of those moments, right, where like, I loved your story, Cara, about you trained that Chessie to have good behavior by going through those practices and using just operant conditioning. So when you do when you do something great with a dog that wasn't asked of you, you're not being paid extra. In fact, it's not even really known or identified as an issue, right? You just know because you're a professional, and that's it. How do you then go back to the owner, or do you, and say, listen, I want to explain to you, and whether that's a handout, a demo, a video, whatever, I want to share with you how much your dog likes training and how well this dog responded. Do you do that, or don't you do that? And if so, why? Or if so, why not? So Joette, what about you? In that situation, if you had that kind of success that Cara was talking about, do you want to go and say, oh my God, your dog is a genius, listen to what I was able to do? Or do you just keep it closed and just do what you need to do, tell your sitters, and just make sure everyone's on the same page?
It varies, because there are times when we absolutely want to share that information. It depends on the relationship, I think, and how early you are on the relationship as well, because we don't want to come off as, if it's brand new, client, we don't come off as, oh my gosh, we're coming in and clearly what they weren't doing is right, and we know everything, and and by the way, you should get some training for your dog because this is working, and so we are very, very careful in how we approach any of that. I've had similar things that have happened where one of my sitters has had success with something and shared it with talked to us, and we talked about how to share it with the client, and the client was just overjoyed, so you just don't know how people are going to take things sometimes. But I think that if it's something that you can pass on and maybe improve the life of the client as well, it's definitely worth sharing, so I'd probably err on the side of sharing before not sharing. But again, I'm going to weigh some other factors into the decision making.
CA, what do you think?
I'm going to actually go a little deeper on that. And I've learned some
Yeah. I'm shocked.
I've learned a valuable lesson the hard way. So I've learned to always ask first, even if it's minor, because, for example, if you're using an easy walk harness, the client has said, my dog doesn't pull. And then the neighbor says, I saw your walker walking this dog on this weird front harness. The client, for whatever reason, can get upset. So I always ask the client first. And then I always draw the line, because I want to make sure, because I'm not offering training services to my clients, it's something we've always toyed with. I did have a trainer on my staff for many years, but we eventually got away from that. I never want to downplay us as just dog walkers, because we all know the extreme education that requires, but I'm not a dog trainer. I ask that when the dog does behaviors while in my care that make my job more difficult, pulling, jumping on me when I walk in the door, do I have client's permission to fix that? And then if the client gets so excited about that, which they often do, and they're like, you fixed my dog, and they ask me to come and say, hey, can you help me? No, that's where my referral network is a big deal, because I work with dogs. I don't work with training people. And that's kind of my thing. I communicate a dog's well-being and their potty behaviors and everything else. I'll collect a poop sample if you need me to, because I'm going to anyways. I can leave it in the refrigerator or by the back door, whatever. But when you want training, I will work with the dog to make it comfortable with me and my staff. But beyond that, I have a referral network, because that I went down that hole with some really good clients. They had a counter surfer, and we gave them some tricks and ideas. And then at the end of the day, we realized we spent hours with them. We got nothing for it. Then did we charge for it? And then it just gets awkward. So again, going back to my boundaries, set your boundaries, always ask permission.
Absolutely. I totally agree with her on that, because you get in all kinds of trouble if you just make an assumption
over silly things like an easy walk harness. I mean, I get a gentle leader because they're like, oh, you put a muzzle on my dog. It's not a muzzle. Yeah. Yeah. And neighbors, you know, we've got some retired neighbors. Oh boy, did they love to tell stories. Yes. I'm watching.
They're the pre-video, the pre-camera. There's the neighbor.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, they are. And they're everywhere still.
So listen, Alex DiLorenzo just asked a great question, which thank you, Alex. We love this question, which is, I love this, ... She says, removing yourself as the reward and training the dog to be calm. But how do you teach your employees to follow through on those sort of things? So high level, I'll go high level, and then I'll pass along a more granular answer to my colleagues. High level, I'm going to say you need to have a training system in place. Something that is, that you can verify that your employees have actually understood the information. Obviously, my company, FetchFind, we have a solution for that. It's called FetchFind Monthly Pro, which is a library of videos that have quizzes. And you can actually, teach your employees about what it means. We actually have a video about this particular thing, about jumping up. So you can go through a library of videos, and if you don't do it through FetchFind, you can find YouTube or whatever, but you've got to show them. You've got to show them, you've got to test them, you've got to include this as part of their training if there's a particular thing that you'd like to emphasize. But that doesn't just go for jumping, Alex. I think that goes for everything. Having a good training system in place that's easy to use and turnkey, and that you can actually get some data from and get some metrics on how your staff is doing as far as getting that information and being able to use it. That just has to happen, right? That just has to happen in my opinion, clearly. But now, so beyond that, what do you think, kind of practically, if someone doesn't have an education system in place, or it's just kind of a one-off situation, what are the opinions of communicating that to any number of staff? Anyone?
I have
Hi.
Well, hi. Hey, that's me on the team. Yeah. I like to have if it's on a one-off situation or a particular situation, I'll usually have somebody that is one of my more seasoned staff members, or maybe somebody from my office, go with that sitter on that visit to assess the situation, because one perception might be different from another perception. So and it might be a really, quick fix or whatever it might be, just in changing their body language or changing the way that they approach. I can tell you early on for me, someone did this for me, and I would go in, and these dogs were just so excitable, and just, so I couldn't even get the harness on them without fear of getting a busted lip or whatever. But I was walking on going, hi babies, hi, and I was told, hey, well, that's your first mistake. You're just making them even more excited. So
right.
Either ignore them or talk in a very low, quiet voice. The other option was to let them out in the backyard. If there was a backyard, a secure backyard, let them run around for a second, calm down a little bit, and then come in. And then maybe they, are a little easier to harness at that point. But being able to go with another person and see what they're seeing. And because sometimes, again, it's lost in translation. They're trying to tell you, hey, this is what's happening, but you don't know the layout of the house. You don't know all the particulars that might be involved in what's causing all of these things to happen. So that would be probably one of the first things that we do, in addition to, again, reiterating certain policies and procedures. The more you talk about it, the more likely they are to pick it up and listen and that type of thing. You teach it one time, and then it can, just disappear from, so you got to constantly be, these main key points as far as how we do the job, just be discussing them and talking about them on a regular basis.
I love what you just said, by the way, which is making it part of your culture. So having these types of situations that are more common, like a jumping up, having that just be part of the vernacular. This is what we do. Using clinical vernacular, talking about rewards and taking rewards away, and talking about it being, using scientific language like operant conditioning terms. So I do love the idea of, and that's what separates I'm sorry for many of you have heard me say this so many times, but I just have to say it again. That's what separates a pet care professional from a hobbyist or enthusiast, is being able to integrate education into what you're doing every day and use it in a way that really does benefit the life of the pet in your care and their household and then the community at large. So I do love the question, and I think it's led to a really nice discussion. On that note, it's noon. Cara, I know you're probably biting at the, I want to tell, so here's what we're going to do. So hold on. So it's noon. I know some people are pretty well scheduled, especially for the pet sitters that need to get some walks or visits or manage whatever is going on, and pet owners, if you're watching and being with us, then hopefully you're loving this insight. I have a list of things. I'm going to quickly, right now, it's 12:01. I'm going to just go really quick, high level, what we've learned so far, then we're going to stay on. Cara, Joette, can you guys stay for another 5 or 10 minutes?
Sure.
So Cara, thank you so much. Cara, hold your answer to that question. So here's the top level things that we've taken away today. And I have all of these things written down, but I'm going to go through a couple just to have them in your head. If you don't happen to see this information later, be proactive. Life hacks, be proactive, plan ahead, look ahead, and be honest about what your needs are, and don't wait until something with a client gets so bad that it becomes intolerable, and then you have to become reactive. Using the phone versus email and text for a situation that requires it, to be thoughtful about that communication, that messaging. Next one is not every client is a client. And Cara had some great tips about how to message that, different ideas, different ways of hacking that conversation, from everything from we don't do that service anymore, we don't take care of your area anymore, and then of course having referral and just figuring out a way to have that dialogue. Boundaries was brought up as a big life hack as one, and it seems so obvious, but not always. So setting up, whether it's geographic boundaries, whether it's boundaries around the last walk that you'll do, the type of pet sitting client you'll take in, and just sticking to that, but also balancing out the people pleasing that we all have in us, because we're all care providers. So finding a balance of your boundary and your people pleasing, and somewhere in there you should probably be able to figure it out, because I think that's a really great point, and I like that you brought up the idea of that pet sitters and pet care providers, veterinary, grooming, whatever, we really do want to make people happy, even though we all think we're in it for the animals, we're in it for the relationship. Be available, but there could be a premium to that availability, to the point of boundaries. Okay, this one I love. Don't talk negatively about your competition. Don't talk negatively about your staff, and don't talk negatively about your clients. You know, that's just a life hack. That's a hack. That's just a way to live. And then networking, find a network, find some people to talk to, and to Joette's point on that is face-to-face. And even if you're having problems in your area isn't as robust as a networking, it's not as fertile as like some other areas, like the East Coast, it sounds like it's a little bit different. Find somebody, have coffee, sit down, create a relationship. It's going to make your life and your heart fuller, and be able to give back to your business and your staff and your clients. So those are the kind of top high-level hacks that I just was picking up on for the last hour. I loved all the questions, by the way. We really appreciate this. I'm speaking on behalf of Joette and Cara and I. We really appreciate the questions and the feedback and the interactivity. I thought that was great. I know, again, there's a lot of really great pet sitters on this podcast or webcast today. And so the fact that you're here, again, you're cream of the crop, your interactivity is really helpful and useful in giving back. And it's just really great to be a part of this amazing pet sitting and pet care community. So I'm going to officially thank my guests, Cara Armour and Joette White, for joining us today. Two phenomenal professionals, two mentors to many, two pet sitters who have done incredible things with their own business, the accolades, the awards, Pet Sitter of the Year. It's a tremendous achievement that both of you have been able to do that level of work in this field. So congratulations to both of you, and thank you again. We love you guys so much. And on that note, we're going to stay around. It's 12:05. We'll stay around. Love you, Cara. Hope to know Joette more. That's nice.
Thank you.
Go to England.
So we're going to hang out for a little while longer and answer some questions. So if you have any, put them up there. If not, then we'll say goodbye in a couple minutes. But for right now, I do want to get Cara to answer the question about the dog training. then we'll see if anything else comes up. So Cara, is your tongue bleeding?
No, I've actually forgotten a lot of what I have mild. My memory is
Mild memory loss. So the question was, do you tell the client, right? Do you tell the client what you've done?
Oh, right. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think I covered a lot of that in terms of, I always say, if you want to be a good pet care business owner, go get a psychology degree. A lot, and that applies to training. It definitely applies to grooming when you have to explain to a client that you needed to cut the cut shorter because they were mad because you, the client, didn't take care of your pet. That has to be delivered very delicately. So, and this was something, telling clients about training things and everything. This was something that I took years to become good at. I developed a lot of my management skills with people as a store manager, and I had no problem dealing with customers because I did not know them intimately. I wasn't in their homes. They were coming to buy a pair of shoes, and if they were dissatisfied with the shoes, I would do everything in my power to make it better. If they were yelling at me, I knew they weren't mad at me. They're mad at the situation, and I'll just make it better. But when a client is upset with you for any number of reasons, that feels so much more personal. So, working with the clients and really understanding them, again, it's that finite balance because you're only getting paid. I mean, we go into a house for, anywhere from $20 to $40. How much time are you spending communicating with this client about something that's sort of not related to, training? If you're not a trainer, when the dog's behavior is escalating or you have a problem, ask yourself how much time of your time you're going to spend dealing with this. So yeah, a lot of it is psychology and delivering. I've learned how to let clients go in the most positive way. And I really just want to reiterate what Joette said about not being negative. Negativity breeds negativity. So it sounds silly, but if you can fire a client in the nicest way possible, it leaves everybody kind of like, oh, okay, because no one wants to be let go by their service provider. If a cleaning lady lets you go, you're like, is my house too dirty? Why don't you want to work for me? Other than me leaving the check, what? And I think that's what people think. Just like a babysitter. Why would they want to babysit for me? Is my child bad? So a lot of it is psychology, and with training, it's your psychology and your mental health as well as the clients. If you're unhappy, for example, we'll just use those boxers. If those boxers jumping up on you and your sitter and being muddy and crazy and the clients are not willing to come to an agreement on, okay, we'll keep them inside, you leave them out when you're finished, then really balance that mental health. Is this worth losing a sitter over? Because that could burn the sitter out. Those kinds of things. I know it kind of went. I went a bunch of different directions, but that was my train of thought.
In fact, I love that. That's a really good point of in terms of just hacking it through and being really mindful of your labor, of your sitters, of your staff.
I think we don't value our time as much as we should, and I'm not talking about the time at the client's house. All the admin, the email. Thank God we have scheduling software now, but even beyond that, we have behavioral issues. That Chesapeake Bay Retriever that I adore, she's going through a cancerous growth on her foot right now, and I'm spending enormous amount of time talking with her parents about options, and that's a choice of mine. I wouldn't recommend it to everybody, but they've been clients of ours for 10 years. So little things like that.
That's a unique situation.
Exactly.
Also, you're a great person.
Well, on certain days.
Take the compliment. Say it. Okay, I'm going to see if there are any other questions that came in. Dory, let's see, Dory.
I can imagine it helps a lot.
I have a bachelor's degree in psych, helps a lot with employees as well. Yes, of course. Love you, Cara. Hope to know Joette more. Love you, Jamie. Love you too. All right, you guys are fabulous, and I thought this went really well, and I really do appreciate it. So I'm going to go ahead and end officially. We're going to stay on business to thank my friends here. So if you want to just I don't think we'll say anything else meaningfully. I don't think there's anything else smart that's going to come out of any of our mouths. I think it's going to be just rambling drivel. But thank you all for being here and for being with us. We'll announce the next podcast. Oh, this is a webinar. We'll announce the next webinar soon. We like doing these. We're doing these once a month right now for FetchFind, but I think we might start doing it a little bit more often. We'll see. Probably might need team just heard that they're ready to kill me. So yeah, but these are cool, right? These are really helpful, great conversations, great people. I love this. This has been amazing. Cara, Joette, love you guys so much. Really appreciate just your awesomeness and what you bring to the table. And yeah, speaking of, if you, for those of you that are still listening, which you guys are all here, this is amazing. I'm going to just end this really quickly too. I realized I didn't thank our sponsor, which is PetSmart Grooming Academy. So PetSmart Grooming Academy, thank you for giving us the space and time and the motivation to do this. And they came to us and said, how about some webinars? And we're happy to sponsor. And we're like, yeah, that's cool. We love that. So thank you very much to PetSmart Grooming Academy. Thank you very much to my lovely, beautiful, my beautiful guests.
I look just like that today too.
Don't you though? I'm sure. You actually do look like this. This is how you look. How do you think you look different? This is how I think you look.
Oh, that's probably a couple years old, but yeah. My hair's a little longer. I don't know.
Yeah, I was gonna say your hair's a little longer, but this is definitely the beautiful, happy looking.
Thank you.
Whose dog is that?
That's my dog Phyllis, who's the most
Phyllis, that is the best name.
What, Phyllis?
That is an awesome name. I love old lady, old man names.
Oh, I'm telling you.
Oh, here's Phyllis.
She's the greatest. She's the most, craziest dog when you walk in the door, so.
Her tongue is so long in this picture. I can't imagine. It's like, look how long his tongue is. Can you see that?
And she loves to lick you to death. So.
Oh, I love it. I'm sorry. You know what? I realized that I could have. Oh, hold on.
Mimsy made some. Oh, do you have Sassy?
Did she make an appearance?
She made an appearance.
Hold on. Let me grab Sass. Hold on. She's sleeping, but I'm gonna grab her. Oh, she is. Okay, hold on. Oh, here we go. Hi, Sassy.
Look at you.
This is our little Sassy dog. She's super cute. She's got heartworm, so we have to keep her really calm. But she's a really good girl. Isn't she adorable? Here,
oh my gosh. That's sweet, sweet little face. Hi.
Hi. Yeah. She's I know that. Splayed out legs, chicken legs. She's such chicken legs. She did those. So what was I saying?
You were saying how much you loved us and how pretty we were. We love you too. We love you. So I'm thrilled to be a part of this and be connected with you guys. And I just appreciate everything that you guys are doing as well. And looking forward to seeing what this, next year brings for all of us.
Yeah, FetchFind makes our life easier. One of the things I was going to say is, despite having the knowledge that I do, I'm not always at the right moment the best teacher. And also when you go in to teach an employee how to handle a dog if they're having an issue, a lot of times that dog sees you and knows you and they're like, oh, teacher one's here, substitute, I can't mess around. So a lot of times that can be an issue too. And that's where I'm like, FetchFind will give you the good basics, because then they're not kind of, jaded by already being out in the field. If you can get them that information first, it kind of gives them a good foundation. And that's why I'm psyched to have those resources available.
I appreciate that. Also, too, the thing I like about the staff education is just after they're out in the field, too, to the other point, that they can come back, watch some videos, get some education, and then discuss what they just saw and have some practical experience around solving the problem, which I think
and it can also help normalize a lot, too. Seeing certain behaviors and they can go, oh, yeah, that dog totally does that. Yeah. So, I just learned the other day about marking. Apparently, Phoenix marks the heck out of us. She's constantly bumping up against. Yeah. So my husband went to a Sue Sternberg. She was up here a couple weeks ago. But
I think it's like investing. You need to diversify. So I know sometimes my staff will tune me out. So if they're getting it from another source, or they, a different teacher, a different type of way that they're getting that information, I think we all learn different. So having multiple things in multiple ways and multiple sources, I think is important.
Yep, I agree with you 100%. All right. Oh, the good breath. Oh, the breath. Oh, the breath. All right. Let's see here. Let's see. Dory, she's like, what the heck are you doing? Really, Cara, it's true. Sometimes employees learn more without having the boss teach. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
And
also,
they can get nervous around me too, which is over the years, I like when they're nervous in interviews, but when I'm out training and they're out working, I feel like that can almost be a hindrance where I know that they function better on them by themselves, but I see them just like flop in front of me. And I've done that when I'm out with somebody. I get nervous.
Yeah, we've all done that. I mean, I think that's just natural. Everyone feels, I think feel so judged, right? You feel like you're just like really being judged because you are. Actually.
Yeah, I'm seeing how you are in the field.
Right, you're being judged, which I also think that having education in place, again, regardless of modality or what you're using, obviously FetchFind's the best, but if when you're using education, you're making it a part of your culture. And you're creating new language and you're creating shared knowledge base and you're creating things. And, I think that goes a long way for employee retention and happiness and empowerment and all of
confidence. I think it's a big confidence builder. Like, obviously I put my staff through the pet first aid and CPR training and they just are like, oh, okay. I feel like I can handle this. I can handle this. Yeah. And some of them, still they know that they can call and they know that this is not life or death. The dog got a puncture wound. It's like, it's not going to die.
Right.
So.
Right. On that, do we want to end on that note? Puncture wound dogs dying? Can I get my sassy back here?
Sorry.
I'm in the mood? I don't know.
I can bring my herd in.
Oh, here's Joette. Look, there's Phyllis. Phyllis and Joette. All right. Are you bringing your herd in? Are they coming by?
Well, my pregnant mama dog is passed out. She's in that see the lamp in the far corner?
Oh, I see the little
ears.
I see the little.
She's all wrapped up in a blanket. And Walter Phoenix, come here.
That's a rough life you've got going on there with your dog.
Right? I know.
I mean, she's literally laying on the couch under a blanket wrapped up.
She gets cold.
Oh.
Well, she has one of those stuffed pita beds back here. That's usually her favorite.
I want to crawl in that.
Nice.
It gets up to 110 degrees. We put a thermometer in there once.
Holy moly.
Yeah. Walter Phoenix.
I said nice liquor cabinet, Cara.
Oh, yeah. I always get Arden once. I was in a meeting and at the end of the meeting, Arden's like, who's drinking the Tito's? Because we've got Tito's vodka, which is a Texas vodka.
Who is this?
This is Walter. He's got to stretch first. Come here. Up.
Is he the one that you do most of your work with?
No, I do most of my work with Debbie and Phoenix.
Oh, that's right.
I just started agility with Walter because my girls are, one's out of commission when one's in heat and the other one's pregnant. Come here, Walter. Up.
You've got a bunch of, I won't say it. You've got a lot of activity in your house. Hi, Walter.
Oh, my Wally.
Oh,
the best boy.
Oh, the best boy.
Oh, you're
calming. What's that called? Anyone?
The calming signal?
The calming signal.
Yeah.
Right. Calming signal. That's right. Dory's asking, Dory's asking, who did she meet when she met you? Dog-wise. Which dog did you meet?
Oh, I had Debbie with me. Mama dog.
Mama Debbie.
Mama Debbie. She's the calm, good one. Phoenix is just, they're boxers. Right. But Debbie's relatively calm for a box. My dogs are all run into the ground. They're still surviving their lure coursing event this weekend. Debbie has no excuse. We put her on the treadmill last night and we have to do exercises on the peanut ball to keep her abs strong. But my dogs are not short on exercise. So they're pretty calm boxers. So you wouldn't see them on the street and go, oh, they're crazy. They're too tired to be crazy. But yes, I understand normal boxers. I just refuse to allow mine to be like that.
I love that.
Except for when you come over my house. That's no good. It's no good. They're really
what did I say in the beginning of this whole thing? What are we first? We're pet owners.
Yes.
Right? That just goes to it. Look what I just did with my dog. Do you think that was like a behaviorally sound thing to do? Yeah. Pick her up out of the thing when she's still.
Let me stick my face in my boxer's face.
We are just a bunch of fools when it comes to our own pets. Oh, it's ridiculous. Oh, can I show you guys our rats?
Oh, yeah.
All right, hold on. They're at the office now because we found out, by the way, we thought they were males and we found out that they're female. Let me see if my camera works. Then I don't know. You're gonna have to tell me. See, I don't think it's
my son is in a group called Zoo Crew, and so he goes before school to take care of the rats and the turtles and the rabbits and the snakes. And so we'll be getting some of those coming home soon. Oh.
There's 3 of them, and we just found out yesterday that they're female. I can't tell if you can see them or not.
Oh yeah, now I can see.
These are our ratty friends here at FetchFind. Their names are Blondie, Zero, and Shy Zero.
You have two named Zero, but one's Shy Zero.
Yeah, a 5-year-old named them.
Oh, okay. It's like when my half sister named our dog Princess.
Right. Exactly. I just noticed that there's a pile of stuff behind me. That's my only pile in my life, is that pile. Literally my only pile in my life. And I'm getting through it little. We moved some stuff in the office around, but I just grabbed everything from like 15 years of business, and that's all I have left to figure out to do.
Oh God, you don't want to see my office. It's multiples of that. And I didn't used to be a pile person either, but I had kids and new business pros, and then oh my God, yeah.
I know. I can't. I piles make me crazy.
They make me nuts,
me
but I create them.
Yeah, I get very anxious when I'm in a work environment that's not clean and controlled. I guess.
That's a typical.
We all a little type A. Right here with
you. Okay. On that note, I can't believe people are actually still listening to us. By the way,
7 of them.
I know. What's wrong with you people?
Like my favorite color.
For us to say something. They're waiting for us to give secrets of the industry.
I know.
Let's share a secret of the industry.
Secret sauce. Yeah.
Always remember to do what you love, and if you don't like it, then change it.
Okay, here's another one. Here's my favorite saying.
Oh.
Innovation, the best way to predict time future is to create.
There you go.
Yeah. Future is to create it, right?
That's right.
We'll leave everybody with that.
That's beautiful.
Better than mine.
Yours is fine.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. We love you. We love you, Joette, Cara. Love you, ladies. We'll talk soon, of course. All right.
Love.
All right. Love you too. Bye, guys.
Bye,
Bye, everybody. Bye, everybody.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you.